Cathie Wood, the founder and CEO of ARK Invest, is a name that has risen to prominence in recent years due to her unconventional approach to investing. While many investors follow traditional methods, Cathie Wood's bold predictions and focus on disruptive technologies have made her stand out in the financial world. Her journey from a relatively unknown investor to one of the most recognized figures in the finance world began with one audacious forecast: the belief that innovation, particularly in the technology and healthcare sectors, would radically reshape the future. Born in 1955 in Los Angeles, Cathie Wood's journey into the world of investing was far from conventional. She was not born into a family of investors or financiers, but rather her early education and experiences led her down a path where she would make a name for herself as someone willing to take risks. A graduate of the University of Southern California with a degree in economics, Cathie Wood quickly made a name for herself as a highly analytical and forward-thinking financial professional. But it wasn't until she made a bold prediction about the future of technology that she truly grabbed the attention of the financial community. In 2014, Cathie Wood made a prediction that would be remembered for years to come. She forecasted that Tesla, a company that at the time was still seen as a niche electric vehicle manufacturer, would become one of the largest companies in the world. To many, this was a shocking and seemingly unrealistic prediction. Tesla was still struggling with production issues, facing skepticism about its long-term viability, and at the time had a market cap much smaller than traditional automakers like Ford and General Motors. Wood didn't just predict that Tesla would succeed. She went even further, suggesting that Tesla's stock could hit $4,000 per share by 2024. This was a bold call, one that many would dismiss as speculative and overly optimistic. Yet, Wood stood by her analysis, backed by years of research and a deep belief in the transformative power of electric vehicles and renewable energy. Her reasoning behind this prediction was rooted in a deep understanding of innovation and technology. She saw Tesla not just as an automaker but as a technology company. She recognized that the world was shifting towards sustainable energy, and Tesla's innovation in electric vehicles, autonomous driving technology, and energy storage could position the company at the forefront of this new era. She also understood that the global transition to clean energy would not happen overnight but would accelerate in the coming years, creating an enormous market opportunity for companies like Tesla. At the time, Cathie Wood was not a mainstream figure in the investment world. Her predictions and her focus on disruptive innovation were considered niche and, in many circles, radical. Many analysts and investors believed that Wood's enthusiasm for Tesla was misplaced. After all, Tesla's stock had seen significant volatility and its future was anything but certain. But Cathie Wood saw something that others didn't: the potential for groundbreaking innovation that would change industries and economies around the world. Cathie Wood's bold bet on Tesla was more than just a single stock pick. It was a statement about her broader investment philosophy. At the core of her strategy was a belief that disruptive technologies would radically transform the world, and those who could identify the right companies would reap enormous rewards. This idea of disruptive innovation was not just a theory for Cathie Wood, it was the foundation of her entire investment approach. To understand why Wood made such an audacious prediction about Tesla, it's important to delve deeper into her philosophy and the way she views the world of investing. Cathie Wood is often described as a futurist. She's not just looking at companies as they are today, but imagining where they could be in 5, 10, or even 20 years. Her investments are guided by a vision of a future shaped by technology and innovation, and she has a keen eye for spotting companies that are developing the tools and solutions that will drive this transformation. ARK Invest, the investment management firm that Wood founded in 2014, was built on the premise that technology-driven companies would disrupt traditional industries and create new markets. ARK's flagship funds focus on areas like artificial intelligence, AI, robotics, genomics, fintech, and blockchain. These sectors, Wood believes, represent the future of the global economy. Unlike traditional investors who might focus on established industries and companies with stable, predictable returns, Cathie Wood seeks out high-risk, high-reward investments in emerging technologies that have the potential to revolutionize the world. This approach was not without its critics. Many in the investment community questioned Wood's strategy of investing heavily in early-stage companies and unproven technologies. They argued that her focus on disruptive innovation was too speculative and that it ignored the risks associated with investing in companies that might never turn a profit or fail to live up to their promises. Critics also pointed out that many of the stocks in ARK's portfolios were highly volatile with massive price swings that made them unsuitable for more conservative investors. But Cathie Wood was undeterred by the skepticism surrounding her approach. She firmly believed that the key to successful investing in the modern world was identifying transformative technologies before they hit the mainstream. "We're not betting on the next quarter, we're betting on the next decade," she would often say. This long-term perspective allowed her to ignore the short-term noise in the markets and focus on the big picture. Her investment thesis was based on a deep understanding of emerging technologies and how they would reshape the global economy. For example, in the case of Tesla, Wood recognized that the future of transportation was shifting toward electric vehicles, EVs. She understood that the growth of renewable energy would require innovative companies like Tesla to lead the charge. But her belief in Tesla went beyond just the car industry. She saw the company as a key player in the broader shift toward a more sustainable world, with the potential to lead not only in electric vehicles, but also in energy storage and autonomous driving technologies. At the time, many investors dismissed Tesla as a one-hit wonder, a company that had little chance of competing with established automakers like General Motors, Ford, and Toyota. Tesla's production delays, ongoing financial struggles, and inconsistent quarterly earnings made it difficult for traditional investors to see the company's potential. However, Cathie Wood was able to look past these immediate concerns and focus on the bigger picture, a future in which electric vehicles and clean energy were no longer just an alternative but the standard. This long-term, visionary approach to investing was what set Cathie Wood apart from many of her peers. While other investors focused on short-term gains and the financial health of established companies, Wood was focused on the future. She recognized that the companies that would dominate in the coming decades were not necessarily the ones that looked the most attractive on paper in the present moment. Instead, it was the companies that were at the forefront of innovation and had the potential to reshape entire industries. Her success with Tesla was just the beginning. Over the years, Wood would continue to identify and invest in other companies that would go on to disrupt industries and generate massive returns. From companies focused on artificial intelligence and blockchain to those developing breakthroughs in genomics and healthcare, Wood's portfolio became a reflection of her belief that the future of investing lay in identifying the next wave of transformative technologies. Cathie Wood's investment strategy began to pay off as ARK Invest gained significant attention from the broader financial community. In a world where many investors were content with traditional stock picks and safe returns, Wood's approach was a breath of fresh air. She wasn't afraid to invest in high-risk, high-reward companies, and her ability to spot emerging trends before they became mainstream made her a standout figure in the investment world. In 2015, ARK Invest launched its first actively managed exchange-traded fund, ETF, the ARK Innovation ETF ARKK. This fund would become the cornerstone of ARK's portfolio and a symbol of Cathie Wood's bold approach to investing. ARKK focused on companies that were involved in disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, and electric vehicles. The fund's holdings included Tesla, Roku, Square, and other companies that were either developing groundbreaking products or positioned to take advantage of major shifts in the global economy. What made ARKK unique was its focus on innovation. Unlike traditional funds, which often held large positions in established, blue-chip stocks, ARKK was built around the idea that the next big thing could come from anywhere. While other investment firms were still betting on industries like banking, energy, and consumer goods, Cathie Wood's ARK Invest was betting on the future, technology, clean energy, and the digitization of the economy. Over the next few years, ARKK's performance surpassed the expectations of many in the financial world. The fund delivered incredible returns, particularly in 2020 when it rose by more than 150%, driven largely by the explosive growth of companies like Tesla, Roku, and Shopify. The performance of ARK's ETFs made Cathie Wood a household name, and investors began to flock to her funds in search of high-growth opportunities in the technology and innovation sectors. What was even more remarkable was the consistency of ARK Invest's returns. While other funds saw their portfolios stagnate or experience volatility, ARK's focus on high-growth, disruptive companies seemed to pay off time and time again. Investors began to realize that Cathie Wood wasn't just lucky, she had a unique ability to spot emerging trends and identify companies that had the potential to transform industries. One of the key factors behind ARK Invest's success was Cathie Wood's ability to communicate her investment philosophy clearly and confidently. While many fund managers were focused on making incremental gains and following the market's short-term movements, Wood stuck to her long-term vision. She was unapologetically bullish on the future of technology and innovation, and her willingness to back that belief with her investments resonated with a new generation of investors. In interviews and media appearances, Cathie Wood became known for her ability to explain complex technological trends in simple terms. Whether she was discussing the potential of artificial intelligence, the impact of blockchain on the financial sector, or the future of electric vehicles, Wood was able to convey her ideas with clarity and passion. This made her a popular figure among retail investors who were drawn to her optimistic vision of the future. But while Cathie Wood's success story seemed like a fairy tale, it wasn't without its challenges. As ARK Invest's popularity grew, so did scrutiny from critics. In particular, many Wall Street analysts and institutional investors were skeptical of Wood's aggressive stance on disruptive technologies. They questioned whether her high-risk approach was sustainable in the long run and whether her focus on unproven companies could lead to significant losses if these companies failed to live up to expectations. Cathie Wood, however, remained unfazed by the criticisms. She believed that the companies she was investing in represented the future and that the risks associated with these investments were outweighed by the potential rewards. She also made it clear that her strategy was not about short-term gains but rather about identifying the companies that would dominate the global economy in the decades to come. The year 2020 was a turning point for ARK Invest and Cathie Wood. With the world grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, investors sought safe havens and turned to stocks that were seen as resilient in the face of uncertainty. ARK's portfolio of innovative, tech-driven companies stood out as a group that was poised for growth in a rapidly changing world. Remote work, e-commerce, and digital payment systems were all booming, and ARK Invest's holdings in companies like Shopify, Zoom, and Square benefited from these trends. But it wasn't just the pandemic that propelled ARK Invest to new heights. The broader shift toward technology and innovation was well underway, and Cathie Wood had positioned herself at the forefront of this transformation. Her unwavering belief in the potential of disruptive technologies had led her to invest in companies that would play a pivotal role in shaping the future. And as these companies began to thrive, so did ARK Invest. As ARK Invest's success continued to soar, Cathie Wood's influence grew beyond the investment community. Her predictions were being discussed in boardrooms, newsrooms, and even on social media, and she became one of the most widely recognized investors of the modern era. She wasn't just a successful money manager. She was a symbol of a new era in investing, one where risk and innovation were embraced in a way they hadn't been before. However, with success comes scrutiny. Cathie Wood, once an underdog in the investment world, now found herself facing fierce opposition from some of the most respected financial figures. Her belief in the future of disruptive innovation, especially her focus on volatile, high-growth companies, drew criticism from traditional investors who believed that her strategy was too speculative. They warned that her funds were too concentrated in a few high-risk sectors and that the rapid growth of ARK Invest was unsustainable. One of the main criticisms leveled at Cathie Wood was that her portfolios were too heavily weighted in a small number of stocks, particularly Tesla. At one point, Tesla accounted for more than 10% of ARK's flagship ARK ETF, making the fund highly dependent on the performance of Elon Musk's electric vehicle company. Critics argued that such heavy concentration in a single stock posed significant risks, especially as Tesla's stock price was known for its volatility. If Tesla's performance faltered, ARK's entire portfolio could suffer, leading to potential losses for investors. In addition to concerns about concentration risk, many traditional investors were skeptical of the valuations of the companies in ARK's portfolios. While Tesla, Roku, and Square were growing rapidly, their stock prices often seemed disconnected from their earnings, with some arguing that these companies were being valued based on hype rather than fundamentals. Critics feared that the high valuations of these stocks were unsustainable and that investors could suffer significant losses if the companies didn't meet the sky-high expectations set by Wood and other believers in disruptive technologies. Despite these criticisms, Cathie Wood remained confident in her investment thesis. She believed that the companies she was investing in were on the cusp of transformative breakthroughs, and that the short-term volatility in their stock prices was merely a reflection of the broader market's inability to fully understand the magnitude of these innovations. She also argued that traditional valuation metrics, which focused heavily on earnings and revenue, were not sufficient to assess the true value of disruptive companies. These companies were investing heavily in research and development, and their future earnings potential was enormous, even if it wasn't fully reflected in their current financial statements. In interviews, Wood would often point to the success of companies like Amazon and Netflix as examples of how disruptive technologies could lead to massive returns over the long term, even if the companies appeared overpriced in the early stages of their growth. People didn't believe in Amazon in the early days, she would say. They thought it was just a bookstore that would never make money. But look at it now. While the critics were vocal, Cathie Wood's supporters remained steadfast. Many retail investors, especially those who had grown disillusioned with traditional investment strategies, saw her as a voice of optimism and innovation in a world that often seemed dominated by conservative, risk-averse financial institutions. They admired her willingness to take risks on companies and technologies that others were too hesitant to embrace. Wood's success was a testament to the idea that taking bold, calculated risks could lead to extraordinary rewards. Moreover, Cathie Wood's focus on disruptive innovation aligned with broader societal trends. The world was undergoing a technological revolution with advancements in artificial intelligence, robotics, renewable energy, and biotechnology fundamentally changing the way we live and work. Wood's foresight allowed her to capture the essence of these transformations and position her portfolios to benefit from the next generation of technologies. By the end of 2020, Cathie Wood and ARK Invest had become synonymous with the future of investing. The firm's aggressive strategy of targeting high-growth, disruptive companies was no longer viewed as a fringe approach but as a blueprint for how to navigate the rapidly changing global economy. Investors from all walks of life, from institutional players to retail investors, began flocking to ARK's funds in droves, eager to get a piece of the action. As ARK Invest reached the peak of its popularity, Cathie Wood's investment strategy was lauded by many and criticized by others. Yet, it was undeniable that she had disrupted the investment landscape in a profound way. Her success was not just about picking high-growth stocks. It was about changing how people thought about the future of investing. Cathie Wood had managed to reframe the concept of risk, viewing it not as something to be avoided but as an opportunity to embrace innovation. She encouraged investors to look past the volatility of emerging technologies and focus on their long-term transformative potential. However, as is often the case in investing, the market cycle is never linear, and the past few years have shown that the tides can turn quickly. In 2021, after years of remarkable success, the performance of ARK Invest began to slow down, as some of the companies in its portfolio saw significant pullbacks. Tesla, which had been one of ARK's crown jewels, started facing its own set of challenges, and other key holdings like Roku, Shopify, and Square experienced downturns. With the rise of interest rates and inflation concerns, many investors started to question the sustainability of high-growth stocks, especially those in the technology sector. Critics were quick to point out that ARK Invest's focus on unprofitable, high-risk companies made it vulnerable to market corrections. Cathie Wood, who had once been hailed as a visionary, now found herself in the crosshairs of those who argued that the tech-driven bubble was about to burst. Media outlets that had previously celebrated her achievements began to question whether her bets on disruptive innovation were starting to unravel. The same stocks that had once soared in value now experienced dramatic drops, leaving some investors wondering whether they had been too optimistic in their assessments of Wood's strategy. Despite the challenges, Cathie Wood remained unfazed. She continued to publicly defend her investment philosophy, reiterating that the fundamentals of the disruptive companies in her portfolios had not changed. While short-term volatility was part of the equation, she firmly believed that the long-term outlook for sectors like artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, and genomics remained incredibly strong. "We are not deterred by the market's short-term reactions," Wood said in an interview. "We are focused on the next 5 to 10 years, not the next quarter." As the years passed, it became clear that Cathie Wood's influence on the investment community had extended far beyond her personal success. Her emphasis on innovation and disruptive technologies had shifted the way many investors thought about risk and growth. While her firm faced headwinds, her broader legacy as an advocate for the future of technology remained intact. Her rise to prominence coincided with the democratization of investing, where individual investors had greater access to the tools and knowledge to make informed decisions. Platforms like Robinhood and the popularity of retail investing, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, reflected a larger cultural shift toward embracing high-growth, tech-driven stocks, something Cathie Wood had championed from the start. Cathie Wood's legacy also extended beyond her investment strategy. She became a role model for women in finance and a voice for diversity and inclusion in an industry that had long been dominated by men. Her success in a male-dominated field was a testament to the power of persistence and innovation. Wood's willingness to take bold risks, backed by rigorous research and a deep understanding of technology, inspired countless young investors who saw in her a vision of what was possible when you dare to think differently. Looking back, it is clear that Cathie Wood's career is a story of resilience, vision, and transformation. Whether her funds continue to outperform or experience setbacks in the years to come, her impact on the world of investing will be felt for generations. She demonstrated that the future of investing lies in understanding the cutting-edge technologies that will shape our world and that those who are willing to take a chance on innovation can achieve remarkable success. In the end, Cathie Wood's bold prediction about Tesla was just the beginning. It was a prediction that highlighted her broader belief that the world was on the verge of revolutionary changes, and those who could see and understand these changes would have the opportunity to shape the future. And in that respect, Cathie Wood's investment philosophy, one that embraces bold risks, innovation, and the potential for exponential growth, has already left an indelible mark on the financial world. Her journey is a reminder that in the world of investing, sometimes the boldest predictions and the riskiest moves can lead to the most extraordinary results. And while no one can predict the future with absolute certainty, Cathie Wood's story shows that those who can see beyond the present moment and embrace the potential of tomorrow are the ones who can truly change the world.